CCH is definitely a place that everyone has a home here.
There's never a dull moment. We have events going on all throughout the week.
It's been my family on campus, and it's been how I've met some of my best friends.
The CCH community is a big family that can just come together and help each other grow closer to Christ.
We're always having a blast. We have so many different events that you can do to get involved.
In Jesus' mighty name, I believe.
Hey, welcome. Come on in, have a seat. Welcome to Tuesday Night Worship. Glad that you endured the bitter cold and made it out tonight to hang out together, to worship together. I want to invite our new rep group up here. Come on up. You might remember way back in November, you helped nominate who would serve on rep group. That's a leadership team of 8 students that helps the staff oversee different ministry teams. So many of you might be leaders of ministry teams, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you the area that they're overseeing. We don't have everybody here. Yeah, but anyways, we'll find out. Oh, there we go. There she is. Okay.
My name is Emily Foltz. I'm a sophomore, and I oversee women's discipleship.
I'm Ian Ferrucci. I'm a junior, and I oversee worship.
I'm Landon Miller. I'm a sophomore, and I oversee men's discipleship.
I'm Derek Mag, and I'm a sophomore, and I oversee the service team.
I'm Lauren Alexander. I'm a junior, and I oversee social.
I'm Thomas Leffler. I oversee outreach.
I'm Hope Lang, and I'm also on outreach.
And we got Gage returning. He's our ambassador. Give it up for these guys here. Thank you for just helping lead. If you have questions about anything in ministry, those are faces we want you to know and go to. Ministry team leaders, they will be getting in touch with you and starting to hang out with you and help you plan and move things forward this semester. And so we're excited for them to get started. Second thing, you received a winter retreat registration form on the way in. A number of people, we'll just leave that down there, a number of people have already registered. Let me just tell you, if you haven't been on a retreat, a little bit about it, and then we're going to give away a free scholarship, so pay attention here. So if you've never been on a retreat, we leave on Friday, happens to be January 31st. Whenever you get done with class, we drive 4 or 5 hours up into Michigan near Traverse City to a beautiful camp. It's a Christian camp retreat center where they have dorms, cabins that we stay in, a cafeteria we eat in, a big auditorium that's a beautiful chapel, and it will be winter up there for winter retreat. Almost always is. So there's main sessions where actually our worship team will be leading, and then we'll have different campus ministers speaking on this text that's on here, Exodus 34, 6 through 7, throughout the weekend. So Friday night there's a session, Saturday morning, Saturday night, then Sunday. And the rest of the time, actually Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, there'll be a workshop time where you get to pick workshop that you want to go to, a topic you're interested in, and different staff will be teaching those workshops, which are really cool. In the afternoon, it's free time, which means it's tubing down their Tubing Hill, which is awesome. You guys been? Who's been? Yeah, give a little shout out for tubing, which is awesome. We had no concussions last year. It was a first in like 5 years. We're hoping to continue that one. Yeah. We just had Kaylee face planted. That was about it, but no concussions. So that was awesome. So it's a great time to grow in your relationship with the Lord and grow kind of in your relationship with these people here. Meet new people in CCH. So we hope to just take, 60, 70, 80, 90 students up with us. And so anyways, we want to give a free scholarship out to one lucky individual tonight. So I have 3 cups up here. We have to put them in this order here. And go ahead, everybody, this is going to be super simple. Everybody stand up. Everybody's a candidate for this. And based on your birthday, we are going to figure this out. I'm going to pull this out. I've got years in here. We'll see. And what's it? That one says, oh boy. Anybody what? 6? Yeah. All right, thank you. I had one fall out. Okay, so I'll have some help. Landon, pull one out there. Just one. This is the year. Everybody else is going to sit down. It is
2004.
2004. All right, if you were born in 2004, you're going to stay up. You're standing. Wow. All right, that really did her. Okay, so now we're going to go months. Your birth month. And I'm going to reach in here. And we've got November. Anybody born in November? Yes, I've got one. You're not. We've got one winner right there? Or is that the only one? Hey, we didn't have to go to days, man. Here we go. Logan Lara is our winner. What birthday? What's the date of your birthday? 22nd. No kidding. Sweet. I've got a child born that day. All right. Hey, I think that's all I have. I'm going to hand it off to Kaylee. Hey, I did forget one thing, though. If you haven't downloaded the CCH app, you need to do that. And please sign in every week. It helps us stay connected to you. You connected to CCH. So if you haven't checked in today, pull out your phone and check in. You can give a prayer request and just find out what's going on in the ministry. And then we know that you're here, which is awesome. Thanks. Bye. Seriously this time.
Thanks, Travis. All right, you guys can go ahead and stand up with us. And as we start off our night together, I want to invite us to consider something with this first song. I know some weeks we sing songs that are like super full band, fast, celebratory type worship songs, but we're going to start on a little bit different note tonight, and I want to invite us as we consider the words of this first song to sing them as a prayer. And so we're going to sing the song Touch of Heaven to open up our night. And if you're not familiar with it, like, you can take time to reflect on the words. Don't feel like you have to just sing with us right away, but you can take time to process, and that's encouraged. But as we start to sing, I want you to consider what you're inviting God to be a part of in your life. What, as a touch of heaven, is just inviting God to do something in your life. And so what areas of your life do you need God to come and move? Where do you need him to speak into your life? What is the thing that you've been asking him for months that you feel like he hasn't answered? And invite him in this space tonight to come and move in your life. And so, join in with us as we start to sing, as you reflect and pray these words back to the Lord.
How I live for the moments where I'm still in your presence. All noise dies down. Lord, speak to me now. You have all my attention. I will linger and listen. I can't miss a thing. Lord, I know my heart wants more of you. My heart wants something new, so I surrender all. Oh, I want
desperate for a touch of heaven. Desperate for you to come. Interact with us, for us to have an encounter with you. God, I echo the prayers of everyone in this room. Ask that you would make yourself known. Come and move and have your way here. God, that you would answer the prayers that have been prayed. That you would meet with us, that you would show us your love and your grace and your mercy. God, that your love would be poured out upon us. God, as we continue to sing tonight, I just pray that that presence would be known. God, that we would sing in faith for the things that you have done in our lives, things that you haven't done yet, but we're trusting and hoping that you will do. So Lord, we lift up this praise to you. Ask that you would continue to be with us.
Come, let us sing to the Lord. Come, let us bow down before Him. His banner is love over us. His mercies are new every morning. I say, oh. So we lift you high, forever lift you high, high within our hearts, high within our minds. Jesus, you alone, a rock, a cornerstone, high within our hearts, high within our minds. Come, let us sing to the Lord. Come, let us bow down before Him. His banner is love over us. His mercies are new every morning. I say, oh. So we lift you high, forever lift you high, high within our hearts, high within our minds. Jesus, you alone, a rock, a cornerstone, high within our hearts, high within our minds. So we lift you high, forever lift you high, high within our hearts, high within our minds. Jesus, you alone, a rock, a cornerstone, high within our hearts, high within our minds.
Won't let the rocks cry out in my place. Return the breath you gave with our praise. Won't let the rocks cry out in my place.
high within our minds. Jesus, you alone, a rock, a cornerstone, high within our hearts, high within our minds.
You are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. And great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs.
God, thank you so much for tonight, for all the people who decided to show up here and worship with us and worship you, God. I just ask that you be with all of us as we listen to what Lance has to say, and that he speak well and fluently as to what you gave him. And just thank you also for the beautiful snow that you've given us, and how nice that is too, God, and how beautiful your creation is. And just thank you so much for that, God. Help us all to get something out of what Lance has to say. And thank you for him speaking and for everybody here. Amen.
I had a little prank pulled on me. So this series that we'll be starting, it'll be a 3-week series that we'll be going through, kind of focusing on the difference between individualism and community, kind of this series that we're going to call it Me versus Community, and kind of seeing the spillover from society where we've kind of journeyed into more of an individualistic society and culture, and how that isn't really a good thing in a lot of regards, and kind of pointing out some of the toxic and bad traits that are kind of spilled over into our life that we interact with in our daily lives, and how that can play a role in our role within the church, within the body of Christ, and some things to do to kind of correct that or to push back against that from society. And so to kick off the series, we're going to focus on tonight a lack of investment, basically a lack of investment versus, or a lack of commitment versus an investment in others. Lack of commitment, I think the underlying theme that comes from that is probably FOMO, a fear of missing out, of wanting to keep our options open. What if something better comes along? I won't commit to something right now. I want to keep my options open, and hopefully something better will come along that I can say yes to. But I think that does a lot of damage in our relationships with one another, with our relationship with God, with our relationship to those outside of these walls, with non-believers. And ultimately, I think it hinders our spiritual development, our spiritual maturity on this spiritual journey. And so I think a lot of it, when we have a lack of commitment, kind of we lack maybe a deeper spiritual investment in our relationship with God, or a deeper investment in our relationship with one another. And there's benefits to committing to something, to being a follower of Jesus, of being committed to God, also being committed to a community. I think a lot of us can say that, our friends are a part of this community, or we've gained friends through this community here at CCH, but it also builds character, maturity, discipline, by having a commitment and investing in other people and also into our spiritual lives. And there are consequences and pain that's caused and damage to relationships when we back out on our friends, or when we fail to just commit to things. So I want to paint a few scenarios for you. I think we can all relate to some of these, but I do kind of want to convict you a little bit. But have you ever backed out on a friend, or a friend backed out on you? Maybe sent a text, hey, we're going to go do this fun thing, but actually I have this other thing I'd rather do, or sorry, can't make it. Maybe you've missed a meeting because you decided to sleep in or do homework. Or you had committed to an event, but you're like, this other thing, it's better, it's more fun, so I think I'm just going to go do that and bail on this other event. Or maybe you've failed to show up to the gym with your workout partner. Some of you in here, I know. Or maybe you've bailed on meeting with a staff member. That's fun, I can relate to that. Or maybe something deeper, you committed to pray for someone and you never actually did. Maybe you said you would read a book of the Bible and you never actually did. Maybe someone gave you a Christian book, something to read, and you said, yeah, I'll read that, and you never actually did. Or you made a promise to God and you never actually kept it. And so our key focus tonight in this is kind of not loving God, not loving our neighbor when we kind of lack our commitment and investment in other people. Those are some of the key things. And I think our Christian commitment should be to God, the church, our family, our neighbors, our employers, health, and then all the things that we say and do that we should follow through with. Jesus tells us something about where our focus and commitment should lie in Matthew chapter 22. My friend Michael is going to read that passage for us, verses 34 through 37.
Not coming up on my phone, so I'll just read it off here. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question: Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it: love the neighbor as yourself. All the law and prophets hang on these two commandments.
And so our ultimate commitment should be to God, if we call ourselves followers of Jesus. And the second is to others. Jesus here is quoting Deuteronomy 6:5 and Leviticus 19:18. And so the entirety of Scripture, he says here, can be summed up in these two commands, hangs on these two commands to love God and to love our neighbor. And we should take them seriously if we call ourselves disciples of Jesus, and we want to be obedient to those things. And so when we make a commitment to God, we should do so to the best of our ability. The same thing, kind of like making a commitment to a job, to going to class, to a friend, to a relationship, to a team, to a club, to your family, etc. What it is, we should do it to the best of our ability. And we honor God and honor others in doing so that way. And so what that means is that we show up prepared, that we show up on time, and we remain committed. And so how many of us would still have our job or internship if we performed them the way that we sometimes perform our spiritual jobs and our spiritual commitment to God? Lack of commitment to God in our prayer life, our Bible reading, and just overall time spent with Him does not honor Him and is not honoring and does not build character. Lacking in being a part of a solid church community and being consistent in that, to sleep in or to do other things, is also not honoring to God, to the community, and is also not helping you in building character. Compare it to a relationship. For those of you that are in relationships, how many of you would still be in one if you only spent a few hours a week communicating with your significant other? Probably wouldn't go over too well, would it? Yet, this is what we do with God sometimes. But if we get our commitment to God right, then I think we're going to get our commitment to others right, to loving our neighbor. But when we lack and in our commitment to God, we kind of demonstrate a greater commitment to worldly matters, to worldly affairs. In our apprenticeship groups this semester, we talked about spiritual formation, which is kind of this process of being formed into the image of Christ over time through discipline, through rhythms, and you're constantly being formed into someone or something, and being formed by the things that we consume. So whether that be social media, news, entertainment, TV, your habits, etc., everything that we do is shaping us into a person. And so part of living in the world is we just naturally are shaped by the things that the world kind of brings us, and we naturally consume bits and pieces of it. But our counter formation to the world, if you will, is committing to these spiritual disciplines, to these rhythms this spiritual formation that helps us better be shaped into the image of Christ rather than being shaped into the image of the world. And when we fail to do these things, to practice our counter formation, we will guaranteed to be less loving and be shaped into the world by the things that we consume. The only way that we become more loving and towards God and to other people is by practicing this process of spiritual formation and being committed to God and our rhythms and our disciplines and our daily endeavors. And so a good thing to think about, like, is eating McDonald's 3 times a day, right? So that's us choosing the world over God. Is, hey, it tastes good, it's easy. I just roll up through the drive-thru, place my order, pay for it. I don't have to do any prep time or anything like that. Their salty fries, they taste pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, but ultimately, it's not good for you. It's not nutritious, and so it may feel good maybe the first few days, but then eventually you're gonna feel miserable. You're gonna look miserable. You're probably gonna gain some weight, and your energy is just like gonna plummet. But if we commit to practicing the spiritual disciplines on the spiritual journey, being committed to God, it's kind of like I would compare it maybe to planting your own strawberries. Okay, it takes some work on the front end, and you kind of gotta monitor the strawberries and how they're doing. I'm not like a gardener, so I'm not extremely, advanced on that topic. But the end result is you get this like fresh, sweet, juicy strawberry that you get to enjoy, and it's nutritious and it tastes great. So it's good for you in those ways. But the theme kind of is when we lack in our counter formation, when we're formed by the world and we commit to the world rather than to God, it's a good way to ensure that we become less loving, more hurried, busier, more anxious, more stressed, more worried, and more fearful. And I think those are some of the things that we wrestle with a lot. And it's kind of in these disciplines. This is the answer, is when we practice our counter formation, when we stay committed to God in our rhythms and our disciplines, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to be people who are going to be more loving, less anxious, less hurried, less stressed, etc. So again, when we lack in our discipline and commitment to the spiritual life, we will never grow deeper in our spiritual journey, and we will always continue to lack maturity in such ways. The author of Hebrews has something to say about this in Hebrews 5, verses 11 through chapter 6, verse 3. And Heidi's going to read that for us.
We have much to say about this, but it is hard to make it clear to you because you no longer try to understand. In fact, though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you the elementary truths of God's word all over again. You need milk, not solid food. Anyone who lives on milk, being silent as still an infant, is not acquainted with the teaching about righteousness. But solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good and evil. Therefore, let us move beyond the elementary teachings about the Christ and be taken forward to maturity, not laying again the foundation of repentance from acts that lead to death and of faith of God, instruction about cleansing rites and laying on hands and the resurrection of the dead and eternal judgment. And God permitting, we will do so.
So the author of Hebrews here delivers this passage in a section where he critiques the audience's basic biblical knowledge, and that is too basic to understand his argument in this section. If you've read Hebrews, you know there's a lot of themes, a lot of symbolism, a lot of imagery from the Old Testament that the author is playing upon and demonstrating who the person of Christ was, using some of those Old Testament themes and whatnot. And so he's critiquing here their lack of knowledge, but he encourages them to grow in maturity and to persevere. And rabbis sometimes would complain that their students were slow to understand and that they should be teachers by now. And that's exactly what the author of Hebrews says too. You should be teachers by now. And we see kind of a little bit of that in Jesus' sometimes frustration with his disciples of not understanding all things. But the audience in Hebrews was lacking in deeper spiritual maturity and kind of stuck on the elementary teachings. And the same can kind of be transferred to our spiritual journey. When we lack in our spiritual apprenticeship and our formation, we will also fail to mature and be stuck on the elementary truths, the basic truths, and be stuck on this spiritual milk, if you will, rather than this solid food. But our spiritual apprenticeship, our formation, committing to these disciplines that we've learned about this semester in our apprenticeship groups, committing to our deeper spiritual growth, being committed to one another as well, and through fulfilling the commitments on the outside to non-believers, we're going to grow in maturity in these things and help us become mature believers by doing so. And there are some of you who maybe are too committed to things. You are overcommitted. You're committed to everything. You're maybe in 5 clubs, 3 sports. Maybe you're working a part-time job on top of that, taking 18 credit hours. You have all of these commitments, and therefore, because you have so many commitments and you're bouncing from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, you're actually not really committed to anything. And so, when we are not committed to anything, or we are failing to follow through with our commitments, we are becoming a kind of person that lacks spiritual maturity and maturity in general. And so when we bounce from club to club, job to job, sport to sport, major to major, serving here, serving there, or just chasing or joining whatever's new on campus, we will never journey deeper in faith and into the deeper stages of apprenticeship, never maturing. And the reason I warn you of this and I state some of these things is because when you become older, if you continue on this journey, then you're going to become the person who bounces from church to church, pastor to pastor, philosophy to philosophy, always searching for the newest, for the best thing to kind of fulfill that hole of commitment in your life. And it is true that none of us mature without aging, but you can age without maturing. And living in this highly distracted, shallow, superficial society that we're surrounded by does not help in our formation process to becoming more committed people, both to God and to one another. Our culture is forming us and distracting us into spiritual oblivion, designed to keep us from a committed, deeper spiritual life towards maturity. In the book called The Critical Journey, the author describes 6 stages of spiritual apprenticeship. The first one being the recognition of God. The second one being a life of discipleship. And third being the productive life. The fourth being the journey inward. The fifth being the journey outward. And the last being a life of love. And the sad thing is that most Christians will never mature beyond stage 3. Never reaching their full potential in Christ, never seeing that there is more to the spiritual life than to just go to church, read your Bible and pray, and give. Now, this commitment and development of our maturity is not just needed in our spiritual relationship with God, but also with others. And Paul in Romans kind of exhorts the church in this in chapter 12, verses 3 through 9, and Keegan's going to read that for us.
For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. And if it is to lead, do it diligently. And if it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good.
And so, as believers, we are this body of Christ. We have a duty to be committed to one another, to love one another. And here, Paul encourages the church in Rome to see everyone as equals, to acknowledge each other's gifts and passions, to be devoted to one another in love, to share with each other if anyone has need, and to demonstrate hospitality. And so I ask you, do we practice such things here? Do you practice those things among one another? Because if we can't do it among ourselves, among fellow believers, then how will we ever do it to the people outside of these walls? If we view our congregation as a unit, as a body, when you don't do your job properly, it causes others to pick up the slack, causing them not to do their jobs properly. If you don't live into your passions, your desires, what God has gifted you with, and demonstrate them here and use them here, others will have to pick up the pieces. And so people sometimes always assume that if they slack or get burnt out, that they can neglect their duties or someone else will just pick up the slack. Well, have you ever heard this story about the church that needed someone to do something? And everyone thought that someone else would do it, and then that someone thought everyone else would do it, and then nobody actually ended up doing it. So when we fail to commit to one another, to serve together, to grow together, to get to know people outside of our individual groups here that are different than us, if we fail to make time to intentionally invest in others that are also a part of this body, it's like body parts being disconnected from one another. You know, if your left leg was trying to go this way and your right leg was trying to go this way or forward or back, you know, it wouldn't work out very well. And when this happens, you develop cliques that don't associate with each other. And you get pockets of people who don't invest with other people that are different than them. And I'm not saying that you have to be best friends with everyone in here. It would be hard and very impossible to do. But to interact with them, to get to know them a little bit, at least go deeper than just knowing their name. And making an intentional effort to invest in other people outside of the people that you just normally hang out with. Inviting other people in to be a part of your group or whatever you may be doing. Community is a great thing. It's a good thing. We're all naturally wired for community. It's in our DNA. God made Eve for Adam so that he would have someone and not be alone. And although our culture is trying to make us very individualistic, one thing that they can't take away that we all need is community. And there's people here, I think, are searching for that. And there's people out on campus that are definitely searching for a community that is consistent, that is committed to them. And so by building a community and spending time with one another, that's how the early church grew in Acts 2 and spread across the known world. We get a picture of that. The early church lived a radical life, a deeply devoted lifestyle to God and to one another. They've devoted themselves to fellowship, to deepening their friendship, to developing a common vision, to having goals and priorities. They devoted themselves to the breaking of bread, having this fellowship mediated through meals. And many of the first believers in Acts 2 were actually coming from other countries. They were coming for this Jewish festival that gets mentioned earlier in Acts 2. They did not plan on taking up a life in Jerusalem and staying, but there was immediate need that arose for local property and resources to use to care for these new brothers and sisters, and that's what the later part of Acts 2 describes as what they did. They shared things. They sold property and possessions to give to others in need. And by doing this, by living a rare, radical lifestyle, compared to the ancient world, they drew people to this thing called Christianity. And so I say again, if we can't commit to each other, to people inside the walls, to people inside of CCH, how will we ever commit to those outside of the walls? And that leads me into being people of our word and being committed to unbelievers. And so Madison's going to read Psalm 15.
Lord, who may dwell in your sacred tent? Who may live on your holy mountain? The one whose walk is blameless, who does what is righteous, who speaks the truth from their heart, whose tongue utters no slander, who does no wrong to a neighbor and casts no slur on others, who despises a vile person but honors those who fear the Lord, who keeps an oath even when it hurts and does not change their mind, who lends money to the poor without interest, who does not accept a bribe against the innocent. Whoever does these things will never be shaken.
The righteous person in this psalm is the one who keeps their word. And so it's important as Christians what we portray to the world, because the world knows who we are and they are watching. And so if we continually back out of our commitments and break our promises to unbelievers, what picture of Christ and his followers are we portraying to them? And it's even deeper than that. Think about if you overpromise and you underperform at your job, you could get fired. If you made a commitment, even if you don't want to do it later, you should still follow through with it. We should still be known as people of our word. And so that may mean that you miss out on something, maybe something more fun. But to truly love our neighbor and to display Christ to the world, we need to follow through with our commitments. You also need to make margin in your schedule for the right commitments in the right order. And so if you don't currently have margin to commit to God, to a church community, to your family, your friends, etc., then you need to make margin for some of those things. And so that may mean that you stop one or several of your current commitments, but it needs to be the proper way and at the proper time. You need to honor your commitments that you've made, whether it be a leader of a club, on a sports team, maybe you're a tutor, a part-time job. You need to honor those until you get to a point where you can step out with others having to take up the large load of you being gone, of not placing large sudden burdens on other people. And so that may mean that you continue your current commitments for days, weeks, a month, a semester, a year maybe, until they can find a replacement. Yes, it'll cause you to sacrifice, but you'll be a person of your word and that thing until you can step out and get your commitments straight. And so making a commitment to something or others will cause you to make a sacrifice, whether that be time, something you wanted to do with a friend, something more fun. But there is benefit in committing to things, especially the right ones. And ultimately, it helps us be formed into mature, loving people. I want to share a story about a service project we did several years ago. I've shared this story before. We were moving a woman that was living in Angola. We didn't have as much details at the time. And we showed up at 8 a.m. And from what we knew, we were just moving this person across town. She was on the 3rd floor of her building, so not a big deal, but it was different than what we were told. We were told 1st floor. And when we got there was a lot of stuff to move. We had to get a U-Haul. Some people remember this, having to get the U-Haul. And this project turned into a few-hour commitment to an 8 to 5 commitment, because we were moving this woman not to another place in Angola, but to actually Columbia City. And it was different than what we had been told and passed along from Trine. And so it was a long day. And to be honest with you, it was kind of like, I wish I wouldn't have committed to that initially. But as the day went on, and as we were serving together, we had so much fun. I mean, we joked around with each other. We joked that we were going to get arrested because Ike gave her all of our names, and there were people in the building that we were moving her out of that said, like, she's going to sue you if you damage anything. Like, and I'm just thinking, oh, we're going to jail. Like, CCH is getting sued, man. This is the last part of it. But none of that happened. And at the end of the day, like, she was so grateful that we were there and that we had moved everything for her, and it was just very cool. She got very emotional. We got to pray over her at the very end of that. And it was an experience that I'll never forget, and that was just a lot of fun, and there was value from that. An experience that shaped and grew me, and I think I could say all of us that were a part of that service project that day. The thing is, when we commit to invest in our relationships with God and others, it's key to our maturity in the spiritual journey. Now, through this message, some of you are probably like, but I'm already committed to those things, or I'm already doing this, or I'm already doing that, or I already serve a lot here, or I'm already committed to God, and I already am consistent in those things. I just want to say thank you. There are some of you that are deeply loyal to this community and to showing up and to serving and to be a part of this ministry and to ministering to those outside of these walls, and we're grateful for you. So don't think I'm asking you to do more, or I'm placing more burdens on you, but you can encourage those that maybe are lacking a rhythm in their spiritual commitment to God or to each other, to challenge each other. Hey, let's get to know this person that I don't really know at CCH, or let's do this, or hey, let's go like minister to people at Hot Dogs and try to build relationships with people outside of these walls. But there are some of you who maybe need to be committed to God in your relationship, in your walk, in your daily rhythm, or being more committed to getting outside of your friendship group here and investing in other people that you maybe don't know, or to being a light on campus and sharing the gospel with somebody, maybe be a classmate or a teammate, or investing in them, spending more time with them, but ultimately loving God, loving one another, and loving our neighbors. Because we do want to grow in deeper spiritual maturity in our walk. And the truth is, the ministry that goes on here at CCH and the load of that, the staff cannot do it all. And a small group of students cannot do it all, but it takes a team, it takes a family of people to be able to do what we do and to provide a community that we can all enjoy, to be able to grow together, to love one another, and to serve each other and our neighbors. There's this quote that says, "The fulfillment of our lives long term depends on how well we choose and stick with our commitments." And again, the things that hinder our commitment from society would be such things as choice anxiety, endless options, digital marketing, transience, attachment disorder, divorce, fear of failure, comparison, unrealistic expectations, secular soteriology, which means looking to other non-God things to rescue us, and a cultural misdefinition of freedom as keeping your options open. Timothy Keller says, freedom is not so much the absence of restriction as finding the right ones, the liberating restrictions. The constraints of our commitments are the things that form our character. And so every time you make a promise and you keep that promise, you partner with Jesus to be more mature, to grow your character, your will, your spirit, and you become more and more the kind of person who is committed. Paul in Romans 5 says, suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance produces what? Character. I was hoping you had an answer. Produces character. And so when we commit to Jesus, when we honor our commitments to other things, when we commit to Jesus and something meaningful beyond ourselves, beyond our simple pleasures, we produce character and become more mature. But when we fail to nail this in the first half of our life, the second half of our life, you will bail on your commitments because you have developed this character, this person over time. And so that may mean you move on to the next marriage, the next job, the next house, the next church, city, high thing, philosophy, whatever it may be. One of the highest values of a mature follower of Christ is this concept of faithfulness, this allegiance, or could be known as commitment. And the best things in life are the result of years and years and decades of faithfulness. Eugene Peterson wrote a book titled The Long Obedience in the Same Direction. And I think that kind of describes the spiritual journey, this process of making it to the last stage of the spiritual journey, a life of love. So when we honor that deep place inside of us, Jesus, our spirit, our soul, real life will flow to us and in us and through us to the world. And we will become deeper, mature apprentices of Jesus. But this requires discipline and commitment. So, just want to ask you a question, something to leave you with at the end of all this. But if you aren't already, will you commit today to invest both in your spiritual journey and the development of your character that will be the result of decades and decades of faithfulness to become the people Christ wants us to be? Let me pray. God, I just pray that we can recognize the things from culture and society that really hinder our spiritual growth and our spiritual maturity and becoming disciplined, committed followers of you, of people known by love for one another and love for the people outside of Christianity. Lord, I just pray that you would help us become faithful followers of you, people that honor their word, their commitments, and that we would develop over time, over decades of faithfulness, into the mature believers that you want us to be, the people that you want us to be, a character such as yourself, that we would embody that in our lives, a character of love. Lord, I just pray that if we need to make commitments to you or to other people, that we would do so and take that step. Or if we need to make margin in our lives for the right commitments, Lord, I just pray that you would guide us in such things, that you would help us reflect on such things so that we can reach a deeper life of apprenticeship in you. It's in your name we pray. Amen. So we're going to have some family questions up on the screen. So if you want to find 3 or 4 people that maybe you don't know, talking about loving one another, getting to know other people. Some people maybe you don't know, haven't talked to since break, to kind of digest some of this stuff, talk about some of the questions that'll be on the screen.
Why did Bree call us in here?
I don't know.
I don't.
I'm kind of scared. She's calling us dummies.
Hot dogs for dummies? I don't.
Like, that's just food.
I don't understand.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know. She's supposed to get here any minute, so.
I'm scared.
So guys, I've called you in to talk about hot dogs. This may seem like a crazy concept to you guys, but I've heard that you need to be educated on why we do hot dogs. So this is what today's lesson is about. All right, guys, we'll start with an easy one. What are hot dogs? Specifically, Wednesday night hot dogs.
I know it! I know it! Me, please, please! Yeah, I know it! I know it!
Wow, Landon, I love the enthusiasm. Let's see what you have to say.
Free food! Free food! It's free food!
We're kind of looking for something a little bit deeper. You know, you're on sort of the right track, not really, but you're close. Just a little bit more thought in that answer, okay?
Me. I know.
Courtney, let's see what you think. Why we do hot dogs specifically on Wednesday nights?
Snacks, late night snacks. After a long day, late night snacks.
Guys, no, that's not why we do it. You guys, we do it so we can minister to others and show the love of Jesus and just love on people around school. You guys are getting it. I understand. It'll take a little bit of time. We're gonna take a break for now, and then we'll revisit it. Okay?
Duh! Why did I think of that?
How did we know that?
I knew that.
Duh.
I knew it. I was about to say it.
If she would have given us one
I
more
was
chance,
about to say.
we
That
would've
was what
known
I
it.
was about to say.
We
that
both
was what
knew
I was
it.
about to say. That.
We both knew
Yeah.
it.
Oh, she's already here.
We're back.
Sorry, Bree.
Well. I'm tired of the games, guys. It's time to get serious. New topic today. Let's hope we can catch on to this one a little bit better. Pancakes. Who knows why we do pancakes every Friday night?
Me! I know!
I know! Okay, Landon, chill out. Why do you think we do pancakes?
I know. Free food! Free food! Free food! I have to blow my nose. Hold on.
No, Landon, it's not about free food. How many times do I have to tell you? It's not about the free food. It's about Jesus and spreading the love of Jesus across all the kids on campus. Jesus!
Oh, I got it now. That makes so much more sense. We use pancakes and hot dogs to help share Jesus' love and kindness to all of campus.
Oh, I get it now. That makes so much more sense.
All right, guys. Class dismissed. Don't forget, though, January 26th, we do have another campus ministry day at Pleasant View. More details to come, but have a great rest of your day. One more thing, guys, just a reminder, we have our small groups that meet every Wednesday nights. Freshman boys are meeting at 9 in the guys' house. The older guys are meeting at 8 in the guys' house, and then we have our girls groups. Freshman girls are at 9 in the upper room, and then the older girls are at 9 in the studio. Catch you there.
Hey, closing announcements. I'm going to have some of my rep group peeps come up and join me up here if you have been contacted that you're coming up here and making an announcement. We introduced our new rep group, and we also want to roll out to you guys this second semester now an opportunity to join a ministry team if you have not already joined a ministry team. So basically, ministry teams are teams that put on events such as pancakes or hot dogs, or the service team or the T&W setup team. They're going to tell you all about these kinds of ministry teams that we have around CCH that give you an opportunity to use something that God has gifted you with, a desire to do XYZ, and use it for the good of the CCH community. So I have couple people up here that are going to share about, share your name, what you oversee in rep group, and then some opportunities that these people will have. This is why you got handed some, I think, cards, or we're about to do that. No, you got handed cards when you walked in, right? Yeah. So, okay, look at those when they're talking.
So I'm Derek, the service team leader, and the service team serves the community and CCH in a variety of ways. One big thing we do every year is we put in and take out the docks at Lake James Christian Camp. So we do that every year. We'll be doing that closer to April. We also, last semester, we did a thing where we decorated ornaments for military camps. And that's something we're actually going to do on March 16th this year. I just talked to a guy earlier today about it. So we're going to be decorating ornaments for Easter that will be sent to these bases. And we also do things throughout each and every week. We clean the house every Wednesday morning, the main house. And then we also do a variety of different spontaneous events where we'll pull weeds or maybe rake or shovel snow. I was about to say rake snow. Shovel snow, shovel driveways. We'll just clean up areas and do different service acts. So God calls us to serve, so this is a great way to do that.
Hey guys, let's go. Get over, Derek. I'm Thomas Leffler. I help oversee the outreach part, specifically pancakes as well. You guys know pancakes, but we've got a pancakes like helpers team. So anywhere from flipping pancakes, making batter, serving pancakes, even like mingling at tables. It's a really cool opportunity to just serve campus and be the light of the world to those people coming through. So, yeah.
And then the other part of outreach is Wednesday night hot dogs. You might have heard it mentioned up there. One of my best parts of every week. So there are a lot of different things you can do on that team. I like to hand out hot dogs, get to give them to people with a smile. But you can also do things like preparing the food, as well as spooning it out. I know Brody really likes to do that. So if any of that sounds, yeah, if any of that sounds good to you guys, let us know. Fill it out on your form.
Hey guys, I'm Ian. I oversee our worship teams. So if you want to get involved with anything that you see here tonight, obviously we've got our music team, which is just any sort of instrument or singing that you want to get involved in. That's a good way to get plugged in there. AV, which oversees like all of our sound, our lighting, all of our slides and all of that. That's a good way that if you want to get over there and doing that. Setup, everything that you see, it's not set up like this at all when we come in here on Tuesdays. So we have a lot of people who are just in charge of making sure that everything gets done around here and looks nice when everybody comes in. And then welcome crews, so that's like all your guys like Gage that are out there greeting you with a smile and stuff. So if you want to just be a friendly face for when people walk in, that's a good opportunity to do that as well.
Yeah, so I mean, we read a couple scriptures about how just the body of Christ, God has gifted different people with different passions, and you can and should use those passions for the furthering of His kingdom. And so we give you guys an opportunity to do that, and we hope that you'll step up and make these ministry teams something great that God is doing on campus. So yeah, we can collect those on your way out, I assume, right? We have extras if you didn't get one. Anything else they need to know? Travis, no. The AV team, audio, visual, anything to do with tech about T&W. That is AV team. So yeah. If you have questions about anything that you heard, come ask these lovely faces up here, and they can get you connected with who you need to get connected with. So we gave you guys some teams that are good and easy to step into, and that we could always use more people on. So we really appreciate that help. Anything else? I don't think we have anything else for you guys tonight. There are snacks outside waiting for you. Thanks for coming to T&W tonight. Hope